Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. We'll get started here in just a minute as folks come on in. All right, well, let's get started. We have a lot to cover today. Welcome to today's webinar on the optional features in Workday 2025 R2. Before we get started, I do have a few tips on using the Zoom platform so you can engage with our presenters. We want you to ask questions and have a really great experience. So if you see the following icons on your Zoom toolbar, ask a question, chat, raise your hand, use those buttons at any time to ask a question or provide a comment. And if you need assistance, just raise your hand and we'll get with you as soon as we can. Again, we do encourage that you ask throughout the presentation. You don't have to wait till the end. We are going to be starting with features for HCM and moving through to finance and then to adaptive planning. I do have a quick poll that I wanted to put up just for fun. We want to know, will we see you next week at Rising? We will all be there. Got some yeses. Yay, we look forward to seeing you. Hope you will join our party as well. If you haven't registered, we can drop that in the chat too. We'd love to see you on Tuesday night. All right. Well, that said, I will hand it over to you, Beth.
All right. Thank you so much, Kate. Just to introduce myself quickly, my name is Beth Taggart, and I am the Workday Solution Architect here at Armanino. So I will be walking through the HCM optional features. Taylor, over to you.
Hi, I'm Taylor Jackson, the Workday Financial Solution Architect, and I'll be going through the financial section. And then James is also on. He'll be hopping on shortly. If he hasn't already, he'll be the Adaptive Solution Architect, walking through those sections.
All right. So like Kate mentioned, we have a really direct agenda today. We're going to give you a quick overview of 2025 R2, kind of where we're at. And then we're going to hop right into the 2025 R2 optional features. All right. So, we're so glad that you guys decided to join us for this webinar. This presentation is going to focus on the features that are going to be setup required or optional for your teams to adopt in your Workday tenant on September 20th. So you might have joined us for our previous webinar, which talked about those automatically available or mandatory features. This webinar is going to be focused on those features that are optional, that are available for you to go and configure, test, and deploy in your tenant if you decide that you want to uptake them. We today in this webinar are not going through every single optional feature. If any of you guys have started reviewing the release notes on your own, you know that there are a ton of features, 150 plus optional features alone. So don't have time to go through all of those on this webinar. So we tried to pick out the ones that we thought were most highly anticipated and that people would enjoy to hear about. Like always, we encourage you to do your own research. The goal of this presentation is just to give you a little bit of knowledge about the feature so you can go dig in more with your teams. And then, of course, Workday Safe Harbor applies. For the most part, everything we're presenting today seems to have a set date of production for 9/20. However, things can change on the roadmap. So, Workday Safe Harbor applies. With that, I'm going to hop into the HCM features. First off here, as you might have noticed in a lot of the mandatory features, there are quite a few new hubs available. One of those is the Job Architecture Hub. The reason I'm mentioning this in the optional features section is that there were quite a few hubs that Workday actually automatically gave security to that are already available in your tenant. However, the job architecture hub is one of those hubs where y'all would need to go in and actually add security to the domain to give access to the job architecture hub. Typically, this hub is going to be for your HCM admins. So it gives you a centralized location for managing your job architecture data. You'll be able to kind of see a lot of those data elements like your job profiles, job families, your skills, management levels. That would all be things that would be located on the job architecture hub. The Manager Insight Hub, a few more enhancements to this if you use the contingent worker feature in Workday, where if you track your contingent workers in Workday. And this one is important if you use the Vinly platform. So you can actually now connect the Vinly platform with the Manager Insight Hub, so that way you can have better insights right there on the Manager Insight Hub. You can actually include that contingent worker information on this hub. And this is another thing that you can add to the Manager Insights Hub, where you can add a hire button on the View My Team page on the mobile app. So this is going to give those that already have access to hire better accessibility on their mobile if you want to enable that. Multiple jobs for contingent workers. So Workday has made quite a few improvements across multiple different SKUs when it comes to multiple jobs. So they're now enabling this for contingent workers. So similar to how a regular employee can have multiple jobs, now contingent workers can also hold multiple jobs at a time. So there's a new add job for contingent worker initiating actions. Contract details can be entered in that add job for the contingent worker task. So definitely, if you do decide to implement this, this is going to be something that requires a good amount of testing. So that way, your team understands how to utilize this. E-Verify employer agents. So the E-Verify employer agents can now submit employment eligibility verification on behalf of other employers. So this is only going to apply to companies that have opted to participate in the E-Verify employer agent web services program. But kind of a neat AI feature that should hopefully make things more efficient if you are utilizing that E-Verify employer agent web service program. Correct actions for edit government ID, legal name change, PI, and change business processes. So similar to the correct worker start date, if you have ever used that task in Workday, you can now correct these personal action requests, business processes. So there are now correct fields available in these business process security for these business processes. So edit government ID, legal name change, and personal information change. You now have the ability to correct these versus going through the entire business process again. There are quite a few more HCM features that are optional out there, but these were kind of the most impactful. So now we're going to move on to core compensation. The first one being templates for request compensation change. So Workday enables you to configure compensation change templates for the compensation process within request compensation change. So these templates are now available for request compensation. So these are very similar to the change job templates if you utilize those as a company. Essentially, what these request compensation change templates are meant to do is to allow you to create slightly different templates for different populations. So they are only seeing the information that they need to see. So creating a more streamlined experience for the request compensation change business process. All right, remove prior compensation for rehires. Terminated workers can now be rehired without reassigning or displaying compensation from their previous employment within the proposed compensation hire business process. This, in the past, has been a bit of a pain point for customers as they are rehiring employees. Typically, it will, show that past compensation, but a lot of the times, you want to rehire with a clean slate. So now via Edit Tenant Setup HCM, you do have the ability to toggle on a field under there that will allow you to not show this prior compensation. In the benefits realm, the one really cool feature we wanted to highlight was the generate help articles for healthcare plans with AI. So essentially, if you are using both Workday benefits and Workday help, and you utilize those knowledge-based articles, Workday can now draft help articles for healthcare plans using AI. And you can also link those articles to your healthcare plans related articles field. So think about during open enrollment as an employee is going through and choosing their healthcare plans, you're now able to link these help articles that are going to be located within Workday because it's Workday help knowledge-based articles. But it will surface that information for the employee and help them throughout their open enrollment experience or their quarter life events as they're making those elections. So we're kind of, bridging that gap between the tools that some people use like Ask Alex, but instead, doing it all within Workday through articles. All right, from an absence perspective, so custom additional fields for leave types. Workday is delivering a new framework for creating and maintaining custom additional fields in absence, enabling you to support global leave of absence use cases by adding these custom additional field label overrides to leave types. So whenever you are configuring a leave type, you're creating a new leave type under the additional fields tab, you will now, underneath the leave reasons, Workday already has a few delivered additional fields. Now there are quite a few more. And you have the ability to override the label of what Workday has provided. So you can essentially track new data elements that you weren't able to track easily on the actual request leave of absence business process. You can also, as you're gaining information in the request leave of absence business process through these additional fields, you can then, use that information to support you throughout the business process. So a couple of examples of how to use these new fields: number of days lost due to leave requests, dates of follow-up appointments. So it's just easier to track that information in the leave business process. Dates, paperwork is provided. And then, everyone knows with FMLA, you have to get your certifications back within a certain amount of time. And so you can actually now track those dates within these additional fields versus having to create custom objects or anything like that. So hopefully these fields will just give you some more flexibility. Payout of expiring accruals. So Workday extends its accrual expiration functionality, enabling you to configure time off plans to automatically pay out unused expiring accruals using the new time off forfeiture adjustment process. So the screenshot I show here is actually what's already available in Workday, but I did want to show you where this has to be configured for this new optional feature to mean anything to you. So Workday is going to enable for this forfeiture adjustment checkbox. And with this new release, it's actually going to run this process in the background for you versus it having to be a more manual process. So the Workday did a really great webinar on this one. So if you are interested in this payout of expiring accruals, they have a really great webinar and a little bit of a video regarding the expiring accruals if you're using those or want to use them. Hey, document generation support for absence business processes. Wanted to mention this one quickly. We're all familiar with generate documents. So dynamically generated documents that we can now use on onboarding, that we use in offer letters, where it's pulling in that dynamic information into documents to make it more employee specific as we're gathering documentation back and forth between the employers and admins. Well, now those are available on your absence business processes like request time off and request leave of absence. So this could be potentially very helpful in gathering that documentation you need to put an employee on leave or to verify a time off. Default start and end time from work schedule. Workday enables you to configure time offs and absence tables to automatically populate the start and end times on time off request from a worker's work schedule. So hopefully this will save time and reduce some of those entry errors from employees. But where you do this, you configure this on the time entry template. There is a new checkbox, start and end time required, which if you check this, it will then require the employee to enter start and end time on their time offs. Position-based time off plans and leave types for contingent workers with multiple jobs. So this is a continuation of the feature that I mentioned in HCM, but also in absence, you can now configure position-based time off plans and leave types when enabled for multiple jobs for contingent workers. So a little bit niche there, but if you want to use multiple jobs for contingent workers, we can also configure position-based time off plan and leave types for them. Okay, time tracking. Hide all current time during time approval. So we have the ability to hide all current time section in the time entry approval in My Tasks. So when this is selected, Workday will no longer display the all current time section during the approval for workers' time in My Tasks. So I've actually already seen some comments on community of people being very appreciative of this feature. It's going to hide a lot of that information that you don't need to be seeing while you're approving time. Enter time by type new. And this is actually how it's labeled in Workday, which is why I put this on here, but a configurable project time entry task that simplifies and streamlines time entry for project workers. This enables project workers to quickly and efficiently enter their time in an easy to use grid that you can organize by time types. So you may be familiar with this if you use time tracking in Workday. There is an enter time by type within the time tracking template. However, this is new for projects. So hopefully this screenshot shows you a little bit of a view of how this could potentially look for employees, but this does allow them to see their time by type within the project. So this was a pretty highly anticipated feature. And Workday also has a great webinar on this feature as well that goes into a little bit more depth, but definitely regression test this. And if you decide to uptake, it'll be a bit of a new employee experience whenever they are entering time. All right, configuration options for edit and approve time. We update the edit and approve time report to provide administrators with greater control over the user interface. You can now configure the autofill entry method and the default display state of the top summary card. So this is a small feature, but will hopefully help with your flexibility on those time cards. Entering time by period. Enabling workers and managers to use only the period calendar for time entry. This should enhance the user experience and help kind of with that help text and print functionalities. So what you're probably used to is just seeing the week by week, but now you can actually enable time by period where it will show the employee's entire period instead of just week by week. All right, just a couple of payroll features. Workday now enables you to add a questionnaire to assign costing allocation to the assigned costing allocation business process. This will enable you to require detailed explanations for costing allocations that occur outside an approved date range. So just giving you more information as you're going throughout your business processes if you need it. Bank account verification for payment elections. This could be a bit of an employee change, an employee experience change if you decide to implement it. But there is a new verification screen when users enable the bank account verification for payment election configuration on these tasks. So change account information and edit payment election. So essentially, it is just going to automatically block any unauthorized bank account changes, hopefully helping to reduce fraud and phishing attacks. Workday introduces pay accounting reallocation, which enables you to process accounting for a prior payroll period based on retroactive costing allocations that could cause updates to accounting when reprocessed. So this is going to make it easier to process multiple payroll accounting adjustments in order to correct accounting on completed pay results. Workday is improving the external payroll input capabilities by adding payroll input reasons as an option. So if you are currently doing a lot of payroll inputs, I hope you're not, but you now have the ability to create reasons for these. So that way you can better report on and understand, why you're doing certain pay inputs. Either each week or biweekly or whatever it is. But you now have the ability to configure reasons for your pay input if you would like to. It is not required. And lastly, for payroll, payslips for payroll for the US, Workday updates the electronic payslips accessed through Workday desktop to include worker address. So this is a compliance update. You do still have to turn this on in your tenant, but this is actually already working for the printed version of this. However, this is now going to update the actual payslip in Workday with that address if you need that address to be compliant. Hey, in recruiting, we have constrained prospect security by country. Enhanced prospect security that allows you to constrain security access based on the prospect's country. Create regions for recruiting for one or more countries and assign roles needed for your organization. So we enable constrained security groups on prospects domain and additional related domains, allowing you to control precisely who can see what based on location. So our recruiting lead was really excited about this feature because it's going to allow a lot more control over who can see what when it comes to recruiting specifically for, GDPR requirements and restricting recruiter access by actual country versus them being able to see every job requisition that's open. Bulletins for onboarding plans. So this a little bit falls under HCM2, but if you're familiar with the new onboarding plan experience, or maybe you've even started implementing it, you know that you have a few options of different features and functionality that you can add to those onboarding plans, like announcements, the onboarding card, the messages, and the video. Workday has also added bulletins as something that you can add to those new onboarding plans. And bulletins are, just kind of on that landing page whenever you configure this and can give, employees information about their first day or surface the right learning content. And you can kind of configure those to specific audiences. Candidate availability for high volume recruiting. Our recruiting lead was also very excited about this feature, but you can now collect availability from the candidate of an external job application, enabling you to configure a candidate's availability and display it on the candidate grid. So as you're actually, learning more about the employee and what they're applying for, you can actually display that availability and have them choose at the upfront. So you don't have to do that back and forth outside of Workday. Instead, you're collecting that information right during that application process and can disposition them if needed. My Conversations. So this is a new centralized location for a user's conversational notifications, which is accessible from the Workday global header. So if you can see from these screenshots, what's new here is this conversational messages, where now they're all going to be in one place versus being muddled in kind of with the bell icon and all other notifications. So you'll be able to clearly see kind of who you're talking to and the back and forth between each employee versus having it all kind of in one spot. Now it's a little bit more centralized for you. In the learning realm, we have skills support on Cloud Connect for Learning platform. Workday now supports skills for Cloud Connect for Learning platform, enabling third-party content providers to include their skills data when integrating with Workday Learning. So as you probably know, if skills can be integrated with learning or have been integrated with learning from just a basic Workday SKU perspective. But now as you upload that third-party content, Workday will actually read, kind of what type of skills are involved and help surface that content to employees. So it used to be that any of that third-party content wasn't really attached to skills in Workday, but now it is. So this is going to be hopefully really helpful for learning administrators and to be able to start to uptake the usage of skills, especially in the learning realm. In talent, we just have one feature we wanted to highlight, but this is give requested feedback and generate feedback suggestions. So Workday is now using Google Vertex AI to enhance the give requested feedback experience. So employees can leverage generative AI to actually draft their feedback using the situation behavior impact framework. So hopefully making those responses more structured and actionable. I know I'm excited about this feature. It, just helps you kind of get your brain started whenever you're getting feedback or doing your performance reviews. You can now use AI to help draft that, and will hopefully give employees, better, more high quality feedback that is easier to write and they can just review, saving people a lot of time. From a security perspective, we did want to mention that there is authentication 2.0 for custom SMTP servers. To preface this feature, this is a new authentication that Microsoft Outlook has provided to enhance the security profile for sending Workday generated emails. Now, Workday and Microsoft aren't doing away with the old authentication platform, so nothing is changing automatically for you. But this would give you kind of that enhanced security, so something for your IT teams to look into. And eventually Workday and Microsoft will do away with that old authentication. They're not doing it right now. This is currently just an optional feature. Configurable payroll access for non-payroll users. Workday enables you to give non-payroll users like HR, benefits, the finance team, access to payroll data that's relevant to their role through role-based intersectional or pay component segment security configurations. So this is a great feature because, there are some security groups that do need access to some payroll data, but maybe shouldn't have access to every single task or thing that the payroll partner or the payroll admin has access to. So this new configurable payroll access will allow you to have better control over who has access to all payroll data. Updated security on the Social Security number verification service. Workday has updated the security for the output file of the Social Security number verification service so that only workers with access on the new domain view Social Security number verification integration document can access the output file that contains sensitive employee data. Wanted to mention this one because it was listed under setup required or optional, but this is really one that you do need to double check that domain and make sure that the same people have access to this as they did, prior to these releases, because Workday did not automatically update the security on this domain. So definitely something to double check to make sure that everybody that had access before September 20th will have access after September 20th. And now over to Taylor for some financial features.
All right. So jumping in here, under financial accounting, we now have tax details for journal lines, report fields. And so the new report fields were added to the journal line business object. So it enables you to, and then users to access the tax rate applications or the payment tax rate applications for those specific journal lines. So new report fields really just enable you to simultaneously report on the tax journal lines and their corresponding tax details without the need for calculated fields. So it really simplifies the creation of those custom reports and should save you time when you're building those reports and just navigating your data. All right. And then from a procurement lens, there of course are many more than just the few we're sharing with you today, but for sake of time, and we wanted to hit on the most detailed ones here. And so for procurement, it's going to be that intelligent intake in procurement. This feature is really going to be available to all of your employees, so it has a greater impact, and it's really just giving you a new centralized landing page for procurement requests through an intuitive interface called the intelligent intake. It really is kind of that single starting point for requests, so should give your end users a much more optimal experience with some smart assistance, minimize the amount of data they need to put in, and should really simplify those requests. And we'll start to be able to leverage some Spend AI capabilities as Workday tends to roll that out to fulfill its AI company promise that it is today. So we can go to the next one here. For customer contracts, gapless customer invoice sequencing for ultimate fiscal schedules. So this one's especially important from a sequencing standpoint and when you are international. So Workday's gapless document sequencing capability now enables you to create gapless customer invoice sequences for those alternate fiscal schedules. So when you add a new field or on the edit company ID definition task that use an alternate fiscal schedule, that gapless document sequencing is now a feature that you can opt into. And so it should really help you comply with local tax authority and statutory invoicing requirements to reduce that audit risk. So it may also be helpful to reduce manual work and to reconfigure the gapless sequence generator rules to adhere to your alternate fiscal schedules. So should be benefit for those international companies and especially those leveraging alternate fiscal schedules. All right. And so moving on to customer accounts. This is really across, I guess, supplier accounts as well. But we can have intercompany multi-currency netting now, where it enables you to pay direct intercompany invoices in multiple currencies through a direct intercompany netting process. So it'll be a new tab that enables you to define which direct intercompany customer invoice can net against which direct intercompany supplier invoice between the two. So you can initiate the netting companies. Really will increase the business efficiency and streamline those direct intercompany payments, and reduce the foreign exchange impact to this process. So definitely worth exploring and doing some regression testing on, but should really simplify the process and mitigate any risk to the foreign exchange exposure. And then from a customer account side as well, you are now able to report on customer change history a lot more easily. So Workday delivers a new report, customer change history domain, which is secured to the customer's functional area that you can then use to secure the access to that information so that you can then report on audit trail information in a single report. So should promote some consistency, enhances the user experience when you're looking at those changes on the customer record. All right, diving into PSA, there's two big ones we wanted to highlight. One that you're now able to transfer ad hoc project transactions. So you are able to transfer other transaction types, but now you're able to transfer all ad hoc project transactions of any type. So time, expense, supplier invoices, and those miscellaneous expenses to other projects, other phases, other tasks, while you use the same task you've been using before, the transfer project transactions and the manage project billing transactions tasks. So should make it a lot easier for you to kind of manage your projects and make those adjustments or those transfers on those ad hoc project transactions. So reduces any complexity, and you may have a more complex workaround now to update those amounts, and so you can now actually fully transfer those. All right, and then the last one, this one also kind of touches into time tracking as well, but time block deletion prevention for project billing. So you can actually update your settings now through a few different ways. where Workday gives you the ability to prevent the deletion of those worker time blocks when that time has been billed or locked for revenue purposes. So this feature prevents inadvertent, unauthorized deletion of those billed time blocks, reducing reconciliation issues and improved accuracy. High impact, right? If users were seeing are not able to, delete their own time blocks now because of given reasons or the configuration, so it should have an impact for your team. But ideally, this shouldn't be too much of a change here. You're not deleting time blocks too often. All right, so I'll pass it over to James now to go through the adaptive updates.
Great. Okay, before we get started, just wanted to let you guys know that if you guys want to get access to see what the new features are, if you're in the home page in Adaptive on the far right side, there is a section called New Features. If you just select that and then select 2025 R2 release, it will take you to the full list of features. But what I'm going to cover today is just 4 features that I find they're pretty interesting and I'm pretty excited about. So I'm going to go over the first one here. This one's collaborate with adaptive planning. And what essentially this is a chat feature that's being embedded in adaptive. And from what I understand, I haven't seen it, but it's accessible through the dashboards. And it has a lot of the functionalities that a typical chat application has. And you can connect it to something like Slack. So it will help you with your collaboration amongst team members in Adaptive. So pretty excited about this. We'll see how much real functionality there is in there, but looking forward to seeing how that works and how our clients utilize that. Okay, go to the next one. This one, I'm actually pretty excited about this one as well. This one is version-specific overrides for linked accounts. If you're familiar with linked accounts currently pretty much takes it. It affects every single version. With this change, they allow you to be very specific to a version. If you want to link accounts from a sheet to GL, for example, you can be specific just to a version, so it doesn't impact prior versions. So this is something that I've been looking for a long time, and they finally delivered. It looks like enough clients asked for it. So I'm interested in seeing how clients utilize this, especially the ones that use linked accounts. Okay, next one. So going along with AI and what they've been doing over the last 2 or 3 years, this is something that's new on the adaptive side. It's called Ask Workday. This is sort of like a chat feature. I would consider this, at least based on what this is explaining, is going to be a very light version of an AI chat, like a light chat GPT. It looks like the only thing that you'll be able to ask questions on are, things that are for help and, questions around, like if you wanted to, put together a predictive forecast, it would kind of walk you through those steps. As far as like you asking questions about specifics about your financials, it doesn't look like it's quite there yet, but this is an introduction to it. So we're looking forward to seeing how they're going to grow this over the next several years. Okay. And the last one, anyone that's familiar with, if you're doing a explore cell, you'll notice that whenever you want to drill down into multiple dimensions or levels or even accounts, you have to drill them into it one at a time to get down to the very last intersection. Well, apparently this new feature will allow you to select those in a filtering way, be able to select this so you can get down to that intersection much more efficiently. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to work with this. Currently, the way it's working now is quite inefficient. So I'm actually looking forward to this feature as well. So these are 4 of the features I'm pretty excited about. There's probably about 10 to 15 features overall that's coming out for Adaptive, but these are the 4 that I'm the most excited about. That's it.
All right. Well, that was an overview of our 2025 R2 optional features. Kate, do you want to close this out?
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. If you have any questions, we can take those now. If not, we can end a couple minutes early. James just put a link in the chat to all of the adaptive releases for easy access as well. All right. Well, with no questions, we can close it out. Oh, Carl, let me see if I can take you off mute. Oh, oh no, he dropped off. We'll get your question next time. Okay, we can close it out. All right. Thank you, Beth, Taylor, and James.
Thank you. Bye, guys.